Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Sue Pittacora with Wavicle Data Solutions, and I'm delighted to be here today with Abhi Seth, Chief Enterprise, AI, and Data Officer and Vice President at the Boeing Company. Abhi, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, given the critical importance of data quality and AI, I'm interested in understanding how Boeing approaches, data governance and, what role does that play in the development and deployment of your AI models and solutions?
Yeah, I think I would say data governance is a very, very important aspect of our overall AI strategy. I mean, without without robust data and trusted data, you really can't go too far without it. So, and I think data governance is not just only part of the AI strategy because of we want to do AI, but I think a lot of the focus on data management is really, and data governance is focused based on risk management, really establishing some guardrails on how do we really drive compliance around what data should be visible to whom, right? I think we have a lot of basically we play in the defense sector, right? So we have a lot of ITAR data, and it's restricted use for U.S. personnel only. So how do we really market the data? How do we make sure that only the right people are able to see it? How do we understand personas? I think those aspects become really important. Plus, I think to unlock value of the data as we create, these single source of truth data stores. So we are creating these, lake houses for our important functions like quality lake house, supply chain lake house. We're really focused on um, creating governance around defining what is your critical master data assets. How do we drive data definition around those master assets? How do we define data quality around those? And then identifying stewards in the business, right? Who are actually able to then take ownership of those master data assets and drive improvement in traceability and quality of those master data assets. So that's kind of how we are driving a data governance strategy.
Great. So, as AI continues to evolve rapidly and new technologies and approaches are emerging constantly, what are some of the innovations in AI that you believe will have the most impact on industries in the coming years? Using your crystal ball, Abby.
I think a couple of things. I think there are techniques that are evolving, and I think if you think about it, the AI techniques are evolving at a much faster rate than people's data maturity, right? I think not so many years ago we were talking about big data, then we were talking about machine learning. Now we had deep learning, and suddenly we are into the age of generative AI, and it's not like it's going to take 5 years. I think everybody's driving generative AI applications at a very active pace. Um, so I think the differentiator, if you think about the breakthroughs, is going to be, I think, this capability of applying and harnessing. I think the AI technology is available to the industry, right? I think so. How do you create a differentiation? Is about how do you really adopt and leverage these capabilities with the unique, application areas that give you a sustainable competitive advantage, right? I think because the application of these techniques for individual industry sector or individual company even is kind of what's the secret sauce, if you will, that creates and unlocks value. And a lot of focus, I would say, is really, I think, the companies who are taking the approach of a value-driven or outcome-driven analytics and are able to then prioritize and pick some of the most important and strategic problems which are going to basically create more of a lasting um, competitive advantage for them are going to be the companies that are going to be ahead in the game. The second thing, from a just pure play technology perspective too, I think this, we've been playing very, very actively with generative AI in the last year. And then we have found so many different interesting use cases. Actually, Boeing has been one of the first companies, I would say, to roll out generative AI platform to 170,000 plus users, in 2023. Actually, at the end of 2023, we were able to actually build a platform, roll it out to everybody in the company. We rolled out a generative AI academy to upskill everybody. We now have 22,000 active users. And the coolest thing what we have found is, this is more of a secure and governed way to use generative AI, but people are actually leveraging the platform more as a test bed to test and push the art of the possible for what GenAI can do for their own specific problems without writing a single line of code. That's kind of the most exciting part that I see. is like a lot of subject matter experts who are domain experts, they're able to actually bring in their domain knowledge, train the Gen AI model, and then ask it questions to see how far they are able to actually push it, which is pretty interesting to watch in this domain. So I think, one of the things that Gen AI actually brings is really the ability to search and retrieve, right? And my background is always working with large, 100-year-old industrial companies like Boeing. And a lot of the challenge in, a lot of older companies is really the domain knowledge, right? All the stuff we have learned, right, over so many decades. How do you really get that knowledge to a person who's just joined, a company like Boeing? And how do we, as we are trying to make decisions, how do we get that domain knowledge accessible? And I think with generative AI, the ability to actually ingest and have that decades of domain knowledge available at fingertips of people, it's truly, truly powerful. I mean, I've been involved in knowledge management and knowledge curation and accessibility. I remember we used to have some technical information library and this and that, like in different companies I've worked for, where you're like, hey, this is our domain knowledge for our company. Now, imagine digitizing all of that and making it available to anybody as a small pop-up on your computer window. You can ask it any question, and 100 years old worth of knowledge you're able to actually access to a new employee at an instant. I think that is going to be a very, very powerful capability. I just gave some of that example in, just the proposal writing. Like there is a way to write proposals. Can we train a generative AI agent to write the proposal the way, a specific company writes it? And then, it can start writing, and then it becomes basically an assistant to a human, right? So we don't take, weeks in writing a proposal. We are able to drive that productivity. Plus we get away from that writer's block, if you will. But imagine that same assistant is not just writing, but able to actually leverage, decades of knowledge, and bring it to your fingertips. So I think so your decision making becomes a lot more robust. And I think it's a truly powerful capability. It really just remains to be untapped in the near term.
Great. Well, thanks, Abhi. So let's wrap up by talking about how Boeing builds an AI-ready culture within the organization.
I think a lot of the focus that we have is really building a very strong community and talent, right? I think it's really about, as I said earlier, upskilling our team, driving digital awareness, right? So we have, Generative AI Academy, we have a Cloud Academy where we are bringing in basically upskilling a lot of people on next generation and up and coming cloud technologies. We also have, programs for, AI and machine learning, like a traditional AI and machine learning. How do we really basically augment, we have very technical workforce, right? How do we augment them and their skills in AI and ML? So they are able to actually, they already know the domain expertise. If they can learn AI expertise, they're able to actually push the art of the possible that's out there. So a lot of the focus has been really on the enterprise talent and upskilling. And then really also, the second is really driving a culture where we are able to actually, as I said, pick the right problem, execute a solution within, 12 weeks, right? A lot of the change has been in Boeing is really, I think we were working on annual cycles in a lot of our digital programs, and we are now shifting from 12-month cycles to 12-week cycles, which is a huge shift, right? So we are saying, hey, we want to build something in 12 weeks and we want to deploy it. And then we want to start to observe how it's working. And we are now doing it over and over and over again, right? So once you get that machine going, I think, you will have the innovation cycle becomes a lot faster. And you're able to build a new capability, involve the users early, deploy it, see how you realize the value, and then go build again, right? And I think that discipline, once you get that going, I think it becomes unstoppable because people feel like, they are on a high once they see not just the analytic built in their lab, but actually it's being deployed in production and somebody using it. So the true success of any analytic or AI capability is really getting it sustainably embedded in a business process, creating value on an ongoing basis, right? Then you are successful. I think a lot of times, as data scientists and AI people, we get very excited when we are able to predict an outcome with a high level of accuracy. And it's like, hey, we solved the problem. Yes, we only solve the analytical side of the problem, but I think the business problem solving is really about now how do you package that prediction in a business process that is trusted by the business community, that is used and adopted by the business community on a day in day out basis, right? So that's really the shift that we are looking to drive.
Well, Avi, I think that's a great way to wrap up and really talking about how your culture really embraces this and really just great job today. Thank you so much for all your insights. Thank you for joining me today. Please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.
Thank you.